All these so-called political geniuses in Washington, whether it be at the big lobbying firms or
the only
many
person
of the
who's called himself a genius
Congress,
in the last week is the president. But
which happens to be a true statement.
Okay.
A self-made billionaire who revolutionized reality TV and who has changed the course of our politics.
He's watching and he's happy that you said that. But
Jay, the president's tweets absolutely reaffirmed the plain-spoken truth. A self-made billionaire revolutionized reality TV and tapped into something magical that's happening in the hearts of this country. The people that you
The president has approval rating in the 30s. I don't know what magical you're talking about.
Remember Trump lapdog Stephen Miller? Well, he's making the rounds again in the right-wing media to make sure nobody forgets how much of a hate-filled idiot he is.
Worse than a fabulist, as I mentioned, someone who's a sociopathic liar. Really unprecedented to have somebody in this high station in office who is incapable of speaking the truth.
You couldn't have written a more ironic statement than what Miller just said. Yes, President Biden has been a serial liar throughout his lifelong political career, but posturing this as if this is the first time we've had a pathological liar as president is laughable at best.
We got millions and millions more votes in 2020. A fake election that was. He ran from the basement. We got more votes than any sitting president in history, but we lost. They report almost 75 million. They report, not 63, 75. We lost by a whisker, just a whisker, with their mail-in ballot hoaxes. And anybody that can cheat on elections the way they do if the election weren't rigged, because we didn't allow people like that into our country, we didn't welcome them, and they knew it. He asked me for an endorsement. He was an election denier, which is the right thing because the election was crooked. Although I happen to think we won most of the country. You want to know the truth. If the voting were real, I actually think we won most of the country. If you don't have fair elections, you don't. And you know what I add to it more and more? The fake news.
Those weapons of mass destruction got to be somewhere. Nope, no weapons over there. Maybe under here.
The result is an absence of checks and balances in Russia and the decision of one man to launch a wholly unjustified and brutal invasion of of Ukraine. Iraq, anyway.
Listen, lying to the American people to achieve political goals has been a defining trait of American politics for quite some time. It can range from white lies to just blatant ones that really cross the line. Especially Republicans, they especially engage in a lot of lying. But Miller's hypocrisy and sucking up to Trump really pales in comparison to his own policy ambitions.
You would establish large-scale staging grounds for removal flights. So you grab illegal immigrants and then you move them to the staging grounds, and that's where the planes are waiting for federal law enforcement to then move those illegals home. You deputize the National Guard to carry out immigration enforcement, and then you also deploy the military to the southern border, not just with a mission to observe, but with an impedance and denial mission. In other words, you reassert the fundamental constitutional principle that you don't have a right to enter into our sovereign territory, to even request the asylum claim. The military has the right to establish a fortress position on the border and to say no one can cross here at all.
You heard that right. Stephen Miller is proposing that the military should be deputized to facilitate concentration camps for undocumented immigrants, in addition to a full militarization of the southern border.
From Joe Biden's mouth, they do not talk about the countless Americans who have been burglarized, beaten, raped, and yes, murdered by Joe Biden's illegal aliens, the illegal aliens that he let into the country. And so you have a party and a president and a left-wing movement in this country that is so determined to bring illegal aliens in for electoral votes, for congressional seats, to make them citizens, to increase and make permanent their political power, they are willing to even risk multiple terrorist attacks on this country.
The sheer cruelty of Miller's views on immigrants and migrants makes me nauseous because he isn't even trying to mask his belief in the white supremacist great replacement theory. He wants you to know good and well that this is how he views them, and he strips them of all their humanity, all of their soul, their heart, their blood and sweat and tears to make a better life for themselves in America, calls them illegal aliens. No person on the earth is illegal. Not in my book. And no person on this earth is an alien. Incredibly offensive. But again, he feels he's bold enough to say it because, quite frankly, we're in a time in our country where people can say outlandish things and they're not going to be held accountable, or they're not going to be stripped of their rights to speak on certain platforms. So we have to do a much better job of weeding people out like him from the discourse and just silence them and point out to people how dangerous individuals like him